some of my cement.
Recording. There we go. Can everyone hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not using my external microphone tonight. I think it's just as good. I'm not sure. Yeah, okay.
That's good.
My external microphone isn't great. It's meant to pick up everything in the room, which is not really what.
Yeah.
Okay, so just before we begin, I'm just gonna, even though we're not gonna do a meditation just yet, I'll just invite the bell just to help us arrive here in the present moment here together. Mhm. Yeah, so welcome everyone to the final session. So 5 weeks ago tonight was the first one, so we basically had 5 weeks to practice. I guess various tools, but mainly the relax, release, lean back. And I'm just looking at the home practice for last week. So in addition to practicing with the small stuff we had and meditating with not knowing, we had setting a strong intention to notice when your heart closes. The task is this worth closing? And then a writing exercise to write down a problem you recently faced and how could seeing it as no problem affect your spiritual growth. So what's been up the last week with your practice? Don't be shy.
I really liked the meditation. This was my favorite guided meditation. And yeah, really, I'm trying to think of, I mean, I guess it's that, like, the invitation to not figure things out and not think about things was really useful for me, because obviously that's a very deeply ingrained habit of mine. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. I did that a number of times, and then that's about it, because it was just a busy, crazy week. So I did not get to the other things, but as you're saying it, I can think, oh yeah, that would have been a good idea to, what was the thing? Write down a problem and.
Yeah, write down when a disturbance came up, or something presented itself that was disturbing, and how could viewing it as a challenge instead of a problem
Right.
help your practice.
I'm just too, I'm just into the mucky stuff of what I guess, just going to keep happening, of the separation, and I'm not paying attention enough while that is going on. I mean, it's like on the periphery, I am working with it, and I think that it is helping me not get as carried away with it. Like if I was thinking, about my life as like kind of as a meditation, where, if I just got stuck in the thoughts, I think I'm not just getting stuck in the process of, the thoughts or feelings that are coming up as much. So that's good. But I'm still kind of stuck in it, and it's just a busy week also with work. So yeah. I didn't have time. And I can see why. I was thinking like at the beginning of the course, how a number of people had said they had done it before. And I thought, oh, they've done it before. Why are they doing it again? But now I can see why and how that would be useful. Yeah. So that was, I feel like it was, I read, and I liked, and I liked doing the reading. I like last night I was so tired. I had about 2 pages left and I still haven't done the last page and a half, but I get the idea of the ending.
I,
And
I'm gonna give
you're
it away
laughing at
later.
that.
I'm gonna
What's
give
that?
it away. I'm gonna give it away later.
Okay. Yeah, no. So yeah, so that was my week.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because you've like the formal parts, the part where you're setting aside time to practice, like the reading and the sitting, that you've done. But
Right.
remembering to do, like to open to the experience when it comes up,
Mm,
the disturbance when it comes up. Um, I know it's hard to remember in the moment, and that's why it's so important to set that intention and to practice with the small stuff and have a list of small stuff, a little, not a long list of 2 or 3 things that you're sort of on the lookout for. And
yeah.
the other thing, which was from a couple of weeks ago, but really it's something throughout that you can practice, is just using those bells of mindfulness. So
Mm,
you know um whenever this thing happens, whenever you go up the stairs or down the stairs or out a door or into your car or whatever it might be, um, to stop and just check in and notice. If you look closely, there's probably some sense of unease in that moment. So you can work with that and just relax into it, and and notice that you're the one who's aware, and you build from there. But yeah, because it is all about um, establishing that habit, right? That habit that
yeah.
whenever you notice that things are, uh, that there's a disturbance, to relax into it and open to it. And it's really, I mean, you're not going to be able to do that probably with the big stuff that comes up, right? Because it's just too powerful. It just sucks your attention right in, and you're gone. You're gone, right? There's no practice at that point. Um,
Yeah.
you're on auto
Yeah.
reactivity.
But I can see how, yeah, doing this, just also on my own, going back to the first week and yeah, setting the intent, doing the
Mhm.
homework for each week would be like, it's a good structure. I
Yeah.
guess that was the other thing with the meditation, like when you were saying that about, is it definitely this meditation, maybe for some reason more than any other one, really helped me, I guess, yeah, like focus on the feeling, whatever feeling there was there, which I think is just, it gets taken up or in the words about it.
Mhm.
So then I'm not really, yeah, experiencing. So I found that the meditation was good for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it might be that, because the meditation really helps with the release part, right? That the the thoughts come up, and and you think to yourself, oh, I have to deal with this problem, I have to figure it out, right? And so having this tape that says, no, I don't have to figure it out, helps you to release the pull of the thoughts,
Mm.
right? Did anyone else notice that, that that having this idea of not needing to know the answer, that helped to let go of the pull of thoughts? So I'm seeing nodding from Dawn, and
Yeah, I
I
guess I
think it
did.
did for me. I think one thing I was very conscious of this week is certain habitual behaviors in certain situations, and not falling into those patterns of those kinds of habitual reactions. Just a couple of interactions that I had with neighbors, that I could feel myself walking in a certain direction in our conversation, and all of a sudden something in me just kind of didn't have to walk that in that direction. I didn't walk in any direction, and where it was like, oh,
yeah,
just kind of like, oh, that's interesting.
yeah. So there was a like a letting go of that pull to go in a what you realized was not a good direction. Is that the idea?
Yeah, I've kind of in terms of, I felt, of putting my interpretation of what this person was saying, and that kind of letting that go and going, I don't know what she's saying exactly. And I'm going to just,
Right. And there was that sense of you don't need to know, is that, or?
that was, yeah, or that kind of like, yeah, I think that I didn't have any sense of needing to go. I just kind of could respond to the, situation and leave it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that felt different. And I didn't have to, like when it finished, I didn't have to regurgitate it over and over again, or analyze it, or kind of look at it from this way and this way.
Right. Yeah, and what causes you to regurgitate it, as you said, what causes you to go over it again and again in your mind is the fact that is it, if you held on to it, if you've stored it, if you've resisted it and stored it, that's when it comes up again and you regurgitate it in your mind. If you don't store it, then it's gone and it doesn't come up again.
And maybe with this storing, I didn't have any, in the two interactions that I'm thinking of, usually I would have to, they're right, no, I'm right. And that, have that dialogue back and forth. And where it was like more of a sense of, okay, this happened.
Yeah. And it's wonderful when that happens, because there's no, this is, and Mickey often says, and I don't think I've stressed this enough, is, that it's easier to release something that's not a samskara, but it's just a new thing, right? It's just like the felt nature of the experience is, either negative or, positive in the sense of grasping. And that if you can let that go, like it's easier to let that go and not and feel it than it is to release a stored samskara. It's easier to not create new samskaras than it is to release old samskaras. So it sounds like you avoided creating a samskara there.
No, this one is related definitely to the old samskara. And because I that's how I knew I was walking right into it.
Interesting.
Like just kind of like, it was just very familiar.
Yeah. Well, that's great that it didn't come up again, because that's unusual.
I'm sure it will come up again. It's there still.
Maybe. You never know until it happens again, and then you get triggered or not. But often people don't even notice. Something that used to trigger you doesn't trigger anymore, and you don't really notice until maybe at some point it sort of dawns on you. Wait a minute, that used to bug me, and it didn't bug me just now. Isn't that interesting? Thanks, Barbara. So we're just Kathy and Zamfira, we're just doing the home practice review. We're going to do that before the meditation. We haven't meditated yet. So anything you want to share, any obstacles that came up in your practice, or any questions, anything you want to share really about the home practice? So it's the.
I'm sorry, I haven't been practicing. I've been really just really overwhelmed by all sorts of things, and just I have to go over my notes, and is this the last session?
Yeah, this is the last.
Yeah.
Session, yeah, that's okay, Kathy. I mean, you can only do what you can do, right?
Yeah.
So just open to whatever the present moment, whatever's coming up.
Just all I remember is relax, release, lay back or something.
Lean back. Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Lean back.
It's just yeah, absolutely.
And be an observer and to your thoughts, and like a person watching a river going by. He's on the riverbank. Be a witness and observer, objective observer to your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Just let them go. Just let them go by.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's mainly what I got out of it.
Yeah. Thanks, Kathy.
Okay.
Anybody else? Who here did practice with the small stuff this week? That that where you were something came up and you practiced relax, release, lean back, or something along those lines. Something where you let down your defenses and open to whatever the disturbance was. Yeah.
I had like a small car accident on Saturday, and I was extremely calm, very, very calm. And by Sunday night, by Monday, I was like super tense. I could hardly sleep Sunday night. I couldn't fall asleep. And by Monday night, I realized I wasn't allowing me to myself just to feel upset about it. I was just staying in the mode of calm, 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 you know. And so by last night, I, like got a friend in, told her in detail what happened, then allowed myself to feel it, like go to the feeling, and go, that's okay. It's okay to be upset, And I feel like I could sort of, but I forgot when it happened that this practice we are doing would apply to a situation like that, because it was a very unusual situation. I don't, one doesn't go around having car accidents. And it's actually interesting that if there had been an issue with a client or something, I might have remembered, okay, practice. But in this case, I just forgot to lean into feel, to be in the moment, I was just resisting in the sense of be calm,
Yeah.
So
It sounds like a really good learning.
yeah.
Yeah. Because often it's very common, that you think, oh, I want to just be peaceful with this.
Yeah.
But it's actually about allowing and not steering, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So there's a good chance more of that's going to come up, right? So now you can just open to it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Marina. Teresa, yeah.
Yeah. So as you know, I've taken your class a number of times, and I'm slowly getting better at this. Like, meditating every day is a big accomplishment for me, and I'm doing that now. But I have to confess, and I noticed Monica said this 2 classes ago, that sometimes you forget what the homework is that you should be doing daily. And you just said something earlier that kind of summed it up nicely for me. It'll make it easier, I think, to remember, is just to catch yourself throughout the day, like if you're opening a car door or whatever, and notice a sense of unease that you might have. Because I guess oftentimes we're, with the negativity bias in our minds, there's always something, right? And just relax into it, and do the, relax, release, lean back. Yeah, so that's what I think. Sorry, my iPad slipped. But I think that's what my next step in all of this is just trying to make, do that every day. I took this course because I'm going through this major kind of life crisis, and it's hard to do that with something big, right? And so anyways, still working on that part, so
Yeah.
might be with you for your next class too.
Yeah, the bells of mindfulness practice really is the base of it all, to connect up the sitting with the daily life, because it is hard to remember in daily life. That when these little disturbances come up, you don't always identify them as being a disturbance that you should practice with, right? But it's really, you know, working with the smaller it is, the, you know, the better it is to work with, really. Because then it's so much easier to not get pulled into the thoughts, and to have that clarity in terms of, oh, this is going on, and so I can do, you know, I can relax, I can put my attention not on the thoughts but on my body and my emotions, and I can just watch it from the seat of awareness.
Yeah, it's almost easier, I think, to do it when you're not looking out for something small, right? Like, but when you just check in with yourself,
Yeah,
like you're
absolutely.
getting into the car or whatever, and yeah, because if something comes up and you're not used to doing this, you know, your mind might just go into problem solving mode or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And when your mind goes into problem solving mode, that's getting sucked into the thoughts, right?
Yeah,
It's the thoughts that tell you you need to solve the problem,
yeah,
right? So, and it's just realizing, oh, I've got an inner problem too, and I'm going to take care of that first.
yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, I like the idea of doing it when I'm not even aware there's a problem, but you know, you have to think about it. You know what I mean? Like the sense of unease you might have about something.
Yeah. I mean, it really, like, if you like recognizing that there's a disturbance, recognizing that there's an inner problem going on that should be your focus before whatever the outer problem seems to be or is.
Yeah.
You know, that either happens or it doesn't, and you really don't have control over it. You know, you practice through the sitting, you practice through the bells of mindfulness, you practice through, you know, trying to have your intention. But again, that it's not under your control. It's like when your attention's wandering when you're sitting, you know, when you come back to awareness, it's not something you will, it's something that just happens, right?
Mhm.
So, you know, that's what,
Lori. Oh,
yeah.
no, you go ahead. It's kind of a bit of a change of subject.
Okay.
So
You know, that's why we made the list the first week of the small stuff, to try and really have that, you know, have that intention and make it easier to remember, oh, this is small stuff that I can practice with, you know. But the bells of mindfulness it really is the place to start. I maybe should start it the first week. He doesn't talk about it the first week, but we could start.
Right. One question about that. I keep thinking like an app would be good for that, because then you like it would just randomly tell you, be mindful now, check in now.
Yeah. Well, I have an app on my phone that's a mindfulness bell, so you can set it to go off, you know, every whatever, or randomly, you know, once or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the bell goes off, and that's the reminder to.
I like that idea. That's what you need. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone could make a lot of money.
Well, they're free.
There probably are.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are
For free.
various apps that do that already.
Yeah, yeah. The you know, and I've used it, and it, you know, the hard part is that you get used to the bell, and then you don't even. It's just,
yeah.
Like, I'm busy right now. I have to turn this off.
you know,
Not that bell right now.
Next bell.
yeah,
I
it
can
really
see
does
it,
come
yeah.
down to motivation, right? It does come down to, like, this has to be really important to you, to, you know, for you to actually, you know, put other things that are going on in your life, you know, on hold for, even if just for a short time, to practice, right? And so, you know, that's why Mickey is almost entirely focused on motivation, right? And like, if you don't have that strong intention, it is hard to practice, and other things in your life will push practice aside, right? And, you know, if this isn't the most important thing in your life, it's going to be hard, you know. And so it's a matter of deciding, actually, my inner peace my inner life is the most important thing, right? You have to really believe that. If you're just along for the ride, we'll see where I can squeeze it in. I mean, you may still get some benefit, but you're not, you know, you're not going to be the untethered soul. Unless you're really lucky, you know? Like, what's his name? God. Eckhart Tolle, you know? Who just sort of fell into enlightenment, I guess from Great Depression into enlightenment, but anyway.
Well, I love even hearing about your journey and the difference that it's made in your life. You know, that's very inspiring and motivating to hear that. And just to know what it, you know, this can make a big difference in your life if you.
Yeah. And I'm
figure
very
it out.
lucky because I stumbled upon Thich Nhat Hanh. I had no idea who this guy was. I had never had any teachers. And I found myself in France at Plum Village, you know, with his teachings.
You.
Like, I was listening to him and I had no idea who he was.
That's serendipity.
Pretty lucky. Yeah. You know, I got home, they told me to buy this book. I went to the bookstore and like, I had no idea anybody had ever heard of this guy.
Wow.
You know, I started spelling his name out to the clerk at the bookstore. I said, I want this book. I figured they'd have to special order it, right? And the guy's like, oh, the Thich Nhat Hanh books are over there. And I was like, what?
There's a section.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's hilarious.
yeah. So sorry, Dawn, I think you were going to share something there.
Yeah, you were talking about setting, really strong intentions and just wanting it a lot. And do you have any recommendations as far as setting formal intentions? I mean, I know we can all come up with our own creative solutions, but is there any that you have found more powerful or more
I don't think it's I don't think it's the content of the intention. I think it's the, it's the heart of the intention, right? And you water it by doing things like reading the book, reading the summary, listening to Mickey's talks or other talks. It doesn't even have to be Mickey, right? It's just anything that inspires you to practice, or just remembering how the practice has helped you to the extent that it has, right? That's one of the strongest motivators, is when you actually see a difference, when like Barbara was talking about, when you're interacting with someone and you notice that, oh, I didn't go down the rabbit hole there. I completely avoided that. And so when you start to see that the difference that it can make, and as well as just asking yourself, like, what's important to me?
Yeah. But do you find though, I don't know, for me, I'm very tactile. So I like to have things reminding me in the visual space. And I feel that, I don't know, doing some kind of, it doesn't have to be ceremonial or anything like that, but just when you do, want to get really intent on doing something, I don't know, I just find maybe having it near you, just as, because to me, it's the same thing as doing the readings and listening to such and such, etc.
Yeah.
But to have that real, connection to yourself and your internal world,
Well, it's as you said, it's the reminders to do that, right? So like, I have Thich Nhat Hanh calligraphies all over this place.
You have which?
Thich Nhat Hanh's calligraphies, like
calligraphy.
Yeah, so right now I'm looking at one that says, "This is a happy moment." Right. Downstairs, I have all sorts of ones. you know, when I walk in here at the top of the stairs, because my apartment's second and third floor, and I walk the top of the stairs, there's a big calligraphy that says, breathe, my dear. Right.
Mm,
And I mean,
nice.
I have them all over. Right. I've been to Plum Village so many times. I've bought lots of calligraphy. And
Can you get it on Amazon? I'm joking, but you probably can.
you can, or well, you can't get originals anymore, but I mean, I suppose you can get them, whatever, buying them from somebody, but and now you can only get prints. But I mean, prints are fine. I mean,
Or make your own,
huh?
or just make your own, right? Like have the quote or have the thing and make your
Yeah,
own
yeah,
creative.
yeah,
Get crafty.
yeah. You know, I have a picture of him. Like over there's a picture of him. Over there's calligraphy. But it's whatever works for you, right? It's just
Yeah.
noticing like
Yeah.
what works for you. The other thing is, I every morning when I wake up, I say, you know, I say several things actually, but I say, you know, waking up this morning, I smile. 24 brand new hours are upon me. I want to live this day deeply and wholeheartedly, and look on all beings with eyes of love and compassion. That is the first thing I say in the morning when I get up, before I get out of bed, every morning.
Can you email that to us?
Sure.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
I like it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And Lori, what's the hearts behind you? I've wanted to ask you that for a long time. What are the?
Oh, when I asked my partner to marry him, I put up all these hearts and I put up a sign, will you?
Oh.
And I took down the sign, but he didn't want me to take down the hearts, so I left the hearts.
Okay, that's beautiful. Very nice.
Yeah, I like them. You know.
They frame your face right now. It's like, oh,
Right.
they're there.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Lori.
Love is, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
for me,
That's why I
anyway.
like your. That's why I like your morning intention that you just said so much. Beautiful.
Yeah, and that's Stick Not Hunt, right? That's yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. That's the Waking Up Gatha. A Gatha is just a mindfulness verse or a poem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got that.
Okay, so why don't we do a little meditation? So finding a comfortable position. And just allowing the attention to sink deeply into the body. Noticing what's in the body, whatever sensations are there, and opening to whatever's there. Noticing that you're the one who's aware of the sensations. And we'll have one sound of the bell. Becoming aware of the body breathing. Aware of when you're breathing in and when you're breathing out. And not trying to control anything. There may be pleasant sensations or unpleasant sensations, neutral sensations. Doing your best to open to it all. Wherever you see resistance, just drop it to the best of your ability. Wherever you notice yourself exerting any will or wanting things to be different, and letting that go. The only effort here is the intention to notice the sensations of the body breathing and to be aware that you're the one who notices. Not trying to manipulate the content of experience in any way. Just letting it all in. Allowing yourself to be completely permeable to whatever wants to come in. Just riding the waves of the breath, allowing the body to breathe itself. Letting the breath anchor you to this experience, this in breath, this out breath. And there may be thoughts in the background or sounds. You might get pulled into them. Attention may wander off away from the body breathing. That's no problem. Whenever you notice that, just bringing the attention back to the body breathing. Seating yourself in that seat of awareness. Noticing that you're the one who's aware. You're aware your attention wandered. You're aware that you're back focused on the body breathing. You're aware of any emotions that might be there, sensations, tension in the body. You're aware of sleepiness or restlessness, judgment. You're aware of the tug on your attention of thoughts of perhaps wanting to figure something out or make something different. Just doing your best to keep the attention on the body breathing, letting it all in, letting yourself feel whatever comes up, riding the waves of the breath. Bringing kindness and curiosity to this moment. It's all just a game. It doesn't matter how concentrated you are or not. It doesn't matter whether your experience is positive or negative or neutral. Just doing your best to experience whatever's there. To not engage with the thoughts. Just focus on the body, feeling whatever's there, letting it in. You may notice that there's some resistance. It may be very subtle. Just a bit of bracing somewhere in the body, or a bit of a sense of unease or wanting things to be different. Whenever you notice some resistance, celebrate that you've noticed it. And then just let go of that effort, let go of that resistance to whatever extent you can. You can invite it to let go, but there's no forcing. It doesn't really matter whether it lets go or not. It's just a game to see what happens and celebrate whatever happens. It's all just life. So live it, feel it. And imagine we've just got a few minutes left here in this meditation. Imagine that that's all that there is. When the meditation is over, there's nothing else. You will instantly and painlessly pop out of existence. You just have a few minutes left to feel life, to be alive. Really savor each in-breath and each out-breath. There is no future. There's just this. Just this. So feel free to stretch, to move, to massage, whatever your body needs. Bring it kindness. Take good care of yourself. If you need a bio break, that's fine. So, yeah, so as you know, chapter 17 is about death as being a teacher for life. So we kind of played with that a little in that meditation, with that idea that all you have is a few minutes. That's all there is to your life. What did people notice there? Anybody notice a shift? Yeah, Monica?
I opened my eyes and looked outside because the place that I sit, I have a door that has a big glass window and a really narrow little window that looks up against the sky, and I could see these faint clouds starting to go a little orangey pink against the changing blue of the sky as the sun goes down. I face east, so I'm just seeing the reflection of it, of those colors. So I just looked at my favorite tree. It's like, yeah, I don't want to focus on my breath if I just have a few minutes. I want to I want to be looking out and seeing that great tree. And a couple of birds flew by. I was like, bye bye birdie. You know?
Right.
So,
well, there was some thoughts that came up in terms of like, what do I want to do with my last few minutes?
I don't remember even thinking. It was just like, I'm just going to look. Like, the world is great. I'm going to look at that. So, yeah.
So it sounds like the feeling was kind of like freedom, or I don't know how to describe. How would you describe the feeling?
Well, I guess I didn't believe I was going to die. So I didn't, I felt pretty certain that I might make it to the end of class anyway.
But there was something that happened there. I'm just seeing, we can tease it out. Something that happened there that caused you to say, "Oh, I'm going to look outside," and it sounds like there was a positive vibration to it, as opposed to, it wasn't a fearful thing. It was a kind of a, going towards rather than going away, if you will.
Yeah. It was like, it was kind of okay, sort of beautiful. It's like, hey, that tree is still gonna come into bud and turn all red in the fall, and whether I'm here or not, it's gonna make lots of people happy. It was just kind of okay. Birds are flying. That's cool.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Jeff? Yeah. You're muted.
I felt like, oh, better pay attention here. This is going to be the last little bit. You better tune in to what's happening. How you're feeling. So that was my response.
Yeah. It's interesting. When I was going over, what we were covering today, and it was a very nice day out, and I was inside basically all day, and I thought to myself, so if this is my last day, should I be wanting to go outside? But I do kind of want to go outside, but I'm actually quite comfortable here, and I just thought to myself, yeah, maybe I'll go outside in a bit, but I just want to enjoy the present moment, really, just live it deeply. I often tell a story that I think both Teresa and Barbara have heard this before, of when I was at Plum Village one time. It was the summer of 2006, and there was I had the most amazing teacher there. the leader of our family for the summer retreat was this guy Taifap Ang, and he led this meditation that night, and it was a heat wave. It was, you know, it was in the 30s, still well into the evening, and he led this meditation, this outdoor walking meditation. He said, "Take a step and then you die." So it's like it's like each step is your last step. Each step is the last thing you'll ever do, right? And it was just amazing how wonderful every step was when I did that. And when it was over, I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to just imagine that tonight's my last night. This is all I have is tonight. And I thought, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? Do I want to call my mom? And I thought, call my dad. And then I thought, no, I just want to be here. You know, I looked around, and you know, there was this gentle breeze and the leaves fluttering in the breeze and the sky, and I just felt completely connected to the universe. And it was the most wonderful thing. And I realized, like, just deeply touching the moment is like that's what I want. You know, I don't know if others have had that. Just when you're really present with the moment, when you're not thinking at all about the future or the past, which is, you know, I'm always thinking about the future. It like there's just this joy and awe and wonder, and you know, that's what death. One of the things like death can teach us, right, is enjoy the present moment. You know, to value
Yeah.
the present moment. Like, how often do you use the phrase like, "Oh, I'm just killing time," right? People say that. I'm just killing time. I'm looking forward for the weekend. I'm looking forward to going away on vacation, right? But we only have so much time on this earth. And when you really, you know, when you look at it and you say, oh, if all I have is this, you, you know, you don't want to throw it away. And that's kind of the message of chapter 17, right? Is that death is a great teacher, because when you actually like feel in your bones, when you actually that, you know, your mortality and the uncertainty, like the fact that you have no idea when you're going to die. You know you're going to die, you don't know when. So what should you do? Right?
Yeah, I found in that in the meditation there that before you said, what I did it right away was pay attention to my next breath before you said that. So I took a deep breath, and then and realized that, or I don't know if it was realized, but there wasn't any sense of being worried or feeling like I had to plan what I was going to do in that time. It was just breathe.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that, I mean, the meditation was very it was very powerful for me, actually. Like, I connected to some very deep sad emotion, which and then I didn't try and label it. And I realized that, like, that's what I do all the time with emotions, is like try and say, what is this emotion? Am I sad or am I afraid? Like, so that's, you know, I had a little bit of that in my mind. Like, is this fear? Is this sadness? And then I just, you know, didn't try to figure it out.
Yeah.
But I realized that that's, like, I think that's the way that I treat emotion most of the time, is trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that that's not necessarily the best way or the only way to experience it.
Yeah. 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 Like absolutely. I mean, when you're just really in the present moment and you're not thinking about the future at all, generally there's peace. Even when sadness comes up, there's peace, right? I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was peace. I mean, because I think there's still a little bit of a puzzle to it. There is still like some, because I mean, because this came up because I heard a noise
Mhm,
outside of the room.
mhm.
I think. I mean, that's what like that, the emotion was connected to that. So there was still some part of me that wants to know, what it is and how it's connected to that sound. But
Yeah.
so I wouldn't say I felt peaceful, but yeah, I don't know how to describe what I felt. I didn't feel conflicted. I didn't feel like I had to figure it out.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I find experience so interesting. Um, this being human thing is really cool. And it's sometimes awful, but really cool. I know I'm dating myself with that word, but it's okay. um, I wonder what hmm, what do you think about this idea of death helping you to live life? That awareness of death, awareness of the fragility, if you will, of life, awareness of the impermanence of life, um, can help you, enjoy life.
Yeah, very much. I mean, that's like art is teaching us that all the time. Like that is a major theme of literature, and it's probably what people experience in watching films, where that has that powerful hook of someone dying, or recognizing something through death. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's very powerful and true.
yeah,
I thought, yes, I thought that that chapter made a lot of sense.
yeah, yeah. And tell me something. When I said, just for everybody, when I said that, all there is these few minutes, and then you pop out of existence, did fear come up for anybody?
Mm.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well, maybe it was helpful that you said peacefully,
Yeah. Well, I was trying to
right?
not trigger fear, but
Yeah.
I know from past courses that some people inevitably just, just the thought that they're going to die just causes fear.
Mm.
um, yeah. One way that I use this, uh, in my practice is, um, just like imagining that all I've got is this. Is when I find experience, when I'm doing something unpleasant, that like, um, I remember, I think the first time I did it actually was I was biking home from my meditation group. It was in Ottawa, and it was cold and it was rainy, and I had about a half an hour bike ride, and I was kind of unhappy, getting wet and sweating in the wet, and in the cold, and I thought, let me just imagine that all I have is this bike ride home. That's all there is, this bike ride home. And it just transformed the bike ride. I just I just felt the drops of rain on my face. I felt, the sensations in my body. I felt the exertion. I felt the what's it called? Uh, just feeling alive. That sense of feeling alive and feeling exertion, and it became a wonderful experience. I had the best ride home, and I use that all the time now. If I'm like walking in the cold, right, and it's like, oh, how long till I get there? Well, then that journey is now basically an unpleasant experience. You just want it to be over, right? As opposed to, this is all I have, right? Whenever I notice myself going, I just want what I'm doing to be over, then hopefully if I remember, I switch gears and say, no, no, let's just imagine this is all I have, right? And then I'm no longer comparing the experience to anything else. It's just, this is all I have. How can I, live? How can I enjoy this experience? How can I experience this? So I highly recommend that practice.
I can compare it to my mom has early onset Alzheimer's.
Mhm.
And in the past, when you talk to her, she's a fairly self-absorbed person. You would notice that she's going on and on about herself. But ever since she has been diagnosed, when I talk to her, I always know this might be the last clear conversation I have with her.
Mhm.
And suddenly, one doesn't even notice that she's just talking about herself. You are only too happy that you have this one moment, because you never know when she might deteriorate to the next stage down, you know?
Yeah, that's really nice.
So
Yeah.
that kind of um, slight irritation we as kids had with her is kind of gone.
Yeah.
We now appreciate actually if she talks about herself, because at least she's still clear when she talks because of her medication.
Mhm.
So, you know,
Yeah.
I think it's true. There's nothing like staring the end in the face that makes you kind of appreciate the moment.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And the message of this chapter is that you can bring that to any experience, right? Any interaction you have with someone could be your last interaction with them. You just never know, right?
Yeah.
So as a practice, you can say, imagine this is my last interaction, right? And what effect will that have on the interaction? You know, probably you'll be a lot more interested in them, a lot more kind towards them, more compassionate, not so judgmental. So that's it's a powerful practice. So you can bring it to any situation, any interaction. Yeah. Okay. Any questions about that chapter or anything? Okay. So let's go on to the next one, The Secret of the Middle Way, chapter 18. So I'm gonna actually share something. So this is so Mickey talks about the Tao and this idea of a pendulum, and that when we go into reactivity, the pendulum swings to one side or another. He talks generally in life about how you can always have too much of something or not enough of something, and the Tao is somewhere in the middle where there's balance. So I did up this little slide. So he talks about how this pendulum, and you want to always try and be where the pendulum is at rest in the center, and this idea of feeling for the center and feeling for the edges, right? And what's at the edges is basically defending and clinging, right? Aversion and attachment, or resist. You can think of it as resistance, right? So whenever the practice is to feel for that resistance, and whenever you notice it, you drop it, you allow, you relax, You allow the pendulum to come to rest, right? You allow the energy to move through you, and then you find yourself in balance in the center where there's no resistance. There's just allowing. So, yeah, that I find that helpful, right? You know, I talk a lot about like a lot of the practice is about feeling for the resistance, recognizing the resistance, you know, and that there's often even very subtle resistance in the experience. So just actively noticing the resistance whenever you notice it, drop the will, drop the effort to resist, and just allow, just relax.
I get that. I think the other side of the pendulum, I'm not sure of. Like this is it excitement or like,
Well,
it's clinging.
Clinging, attachment. So for example, you go on vacation to Hawaii, you have the most wonderful time. And then you keep thinking to yourself afterwards, oh, I want to go back. I want to go back. I love Hawaii. And you keep comparing your life to your vacation. And then on the next vacation, you want to go to Hawaii, but you know, the person you're going with wants to go somewhere else. So you go somewhere else, and then you're not enjoying it because you're constantly comparing it to Hawaii. So that's a positive samskara. You weren't willing to just let go, right? Mickey talks about also, like, you know, you meet someone, say you're single and you meet someone, and you know, you have the most wonderful time with them for like a weekend, and then they say to you, by the way, I'm moving to Europe tomorrow. This has been really nice. Goodbye. And you know, what do? We get all upset because we're attached, right? We're attached, we're holding on, right? Whereas, you know, if you're really free, you would just say, thank you, that was a wonderful experience. Thank you, that was great. Have a wonderful life, right? Maybe we'll see you again. Maybe I'll see you again, maybe not. Either way is fine. So that's non-attachment, right? So the positive samskaras are fewer, but they can be just as, they cause problems because, you know, you're comparing and you're coming up short, right? The other thing that he talks about is this idea of, you know, you're married, you're in a reasonably good marriage, and then like you fall for the tennis pro and you leave your marriage for the tennis pro who really is not a good partner for you, but you felt this rush of, you know, of positive energy, positive feelings, and then you cling to it. You don't want to let it go, and you screw your life up because of this clinging to it, right? Commonly known as a middle-age crisis, right?
What's the relationship between that and a fantasy that hasn't happened, but it's like, this is my imagination of what the future could be?
Yeah, you can get attached to a fantasy for sure.
So yeah, so it's still clinging.
Yeah.
Even if it's not.
Yeah. When I was a teenager in early 20s, it wasn't exactly a fantasy. It was unrequited love. I was totally in love with this friend of mine, you know, who was straight. And I drove myself crazy. Drove myself absolutely crazy. You know, and that's positive samskara. That's attachment. Yeah. Dawn, yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to take away from the class. I lost you there probably about 10 minutes ago when you were on the pendulum. And then everything you said after that, I lost, but you were going to tell a really important story. So if there's any way you can just take a note of what you had said, maybe I can follow up later. If that's okay.
Yeah, I can give you the link to the recording.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And if you don't get it by tomorrow, please remind me. Yeah. Another thing he says in here, which I really like, is he says, you know, in the Tao, you don't chase after things. You're just interested in the balance, right? So you let go of your personal preferences, and you're always just trying to find the balance, right? Trying to find that point where there's no resistance, where you're just in the flow. And that this is a dynamic balance. He talks about a sailboat, you know, and you know, you're constantly trimming the sail, you know, because the wind is changing, the waves are changing, everything's changing. And he says you're never going to wake up, see what to do, and go do it, right? So it's this idea, like, let go of the idea that you have to know what's going to happen in the future, that that you're going to get some, you know, divine guidance on what to do. Rather, it's just noticing. It's really just this going with the flow, right? It's just always wanting to stay in balance, not necessarily to say, oh, I want to get over here or I want to get over there, but just I want to be here. I want to be with the Tao in the moment. I want to be in balance in the moment. That's what it's all about. Because he says you can't see where the Tao is going. You can only be in it. Right. And that, you know, Mark and everyone, that it's the not knowing thing again, right? In the Tao, you're in not knowing. You're not trying to figure things out. You know, I mean, practically speaking, of course, we figure stuff out all the time, but it's like you don't need. It's saying I don't need to. You know, like you might be figuring out a problem or planning something or that. There's nothing wrong with that. You can be in the Tao doing that, right? But it's just this idea that wherever life takes you is fine. You know, you can say, oh, I want to go over there. And then you start walking there, but then it seems like, oh no, life is wanting to take me over here. Okay, I'll go with life. I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna drive myself crazy trying to make what I want to happen. Right? That's attachment, right? Or aversion if it's stop what I don't want to happen from happening. You know, what do people? I'd love to hear your opinions on this, because you know this is a very different philosophy than the idea. You know, in society today, it's generally like, you know, set your goal and, you know, go there, right? That, you know, if you think it, if you believe it, it will happen, kind of thing, right? That's sort of there's a, what would I call it? Like popular spirituality kind of thing that, you know.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, I have something like going on now that sort of, I think, fits with this, maybe, or it might be helpful. The problem that I'm like dealing with is, or thinking about, is about my daughter. And I want to suggest that in the next year that she lives with me half the time and with my wife half the time. And I don't know, and she's older, she's 16, but she's not saying what she wants to do. And she is, she's definitely much more connected to my wife. And I am having a lot of anxiety all the time, kind of thinking about this and thinking like my wife is doing things to get her to favor her. And like, so I'm like going, and I can't really get an answer. Like I can't get an answer from her. So, but I'm like creating a lot of stress, thinking like, what do I have to do to get this? And is this like the right thing? And how should I behave? And is like this being controlled? And like, so I can see maybe like that the answer is just like that I have to just sit and see where it lands. And it might not land where I want it to, and what I think now, and like then
Right.
that's like where it's gonna land. Does that?
Yeah. And it's it's
I
about
mean, but then like fighting, so fighting for that, whether it's like internally, and there's like part of it that's externally as well. Like that's like that, I guess that is like doing those things like clinging or
so it's there's this stuff going on the outside, and you want this thing to happen on the outside, and there's nothing wrong with working towards making that happen. The key thing is to stay connected with what's going on inside, so that you can notice, oh, am I doing this because I want what's best for my daughter? Am I doing this because of something going on in me? Am I, and not just that, but I'm doing this, but I recognize I'm not in control. So I want to take care of myself and not let this destroy me if it goes the way I don't want it to. Right. So it's always maintaining that connection between, with your body, with your emotions, and allowing yourself to just experience it as you go, so that you don't build up all these samskaras from this experience. Right.
So it's like just sitting with the fear and the sadness, and
you don't even have to sit with it exactly. You just
let it go.
Just notice it and allow yourself to feel whatever's going on. Just try and, because it's, I know for me, like it's so easy for me to just get into my head, and I'm all on my head, and I have no idea what's going on in my body, no idea what my emotional state is until I bring it back. Right. So it's just this idea of bringing it, trying to check in as much as you can with your body as you're going through this, and noticing, actively looking in your experience, is there resistance here? Is there attachment here? I mean, resistance is both attachment and aversion are resistance, right? Resistance is any any closing down to what's going on.
Right. It's all like, it's just all resistance now, I think, within that instance, like, except when, I think it's except if I'm doing something with her and it's like, okay, then I'm not resisting. Otherwise, I'm thinking about like, oh, this is gonna lead to more on my wife's side, less on my side, like,
right. And then
that's all resistance.
Yeah, and the attachment or the clinging comes when you're doing something with your daughter and you're enjoying yourself, and then it's over. There you might notice that there's some clinging at that point, some attachment, right? So, and of course, we all experience this stuff. There's nothing wrong with experiencing this stuff. It's not a negative judgment about you or anything. It's just let yourself experience whatever it is that's coming up. We all have the samskaras. They're not just gonna vanish instantly. We're gonna have reactivity. So can you just open to the reactivity and just let yourself experience it, right? Try and, seeing as we're talking about chapter 18, try and stay in the Tao. Try and stay in, with the experience, and not exerting a lot of force to go this way or that, to fight what's going on in the moment. Inside is what I'm talking about, right? Not outside. I mean,
Mhm.
if you think it's in
Mhm.
her best interest, do all you can to make it happen, right? But just stay aware to the extent you can of your emotions and let yourself feel them as you're going through it. So you can stay in balance. You can come from a place of balance, a place of, your higher intentions and not your lower self.
Mhm. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And just with what I was saying before, I had some fear. I hope you don't mind me talking about this. We had our consultation, and she told me about this this teacher, Peter Crone, so I listened to a couple of his interviews, and he's very interesting because he talks about this idea of he sort of talks about both spiritual um, spiritual growth and being fine with whatever happens, right? But he also, clearly, like, there's a lot of, like, he seems to be quite well off materially, right? And talks about, thriving in life. And so, but he says, you raise your vibration and then things just come, but don't be attached to those things, right? You want to be able to be happy whether you have those things or not, you know? So there is uh, and it's interesting for me because I always find there's, the tension between the two, you know, wanting, I often associate spiritual um, depth, if you will, with kind of letting go of material things. But it's certainly possible to be spiritually deep, but, but these things just come, right? But the key thing is that you're not attached to them. You're not attached to, you're fine either way. Okay. Any questions about that or?
I was just going to say, Lori, that what you were just talking about, I suppose it would depend on the person's desires, right? And no, you're not supposed to have desires, but like ultimately, right?
No. I'm going to stop you right there. It's perfectly fine to have desires, right?
Okay.
Nobody's saying you shouldn't have desires because we all have desires, right? So you don't want to be beating yourself up because you have desires. But
I think
you don't have to act on them, right? You don't have to let them
right.
rule you. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Sorry, because I know, like, that gets everyone into trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Roger, what you just said.
Yeah.
About the material things, etc. Because I battle with this too. Is that I think it's not a part of the spiritual journey. But I'm wondering if this person is saying have the intention to accrue or to acquire things, but don't get attached to it. That's where it would be difficult for me if he's just saying it just actually naturally comes, but don't get attached to it. I don't know. It's such a big topic, and
Yeah, it is, and I don't have the answer to it.
yeah.
You know, part of the reason I find this guy so interesting is because he seems to be like, trying to navigate that tension, right? And so I find it very interesting the way he comes across in navigating that.
So can I share my perspective on this?
Sure.
So I think so. The way I think about this is the ultimate meaning of a person's life is to find the best expression of himself or herself. And so when you actually think about it this way, very often the best expression of yourself comes with certain material benefits, because you cannot actually have the best expression if you can't fly, for example, and if you can be in certain places for certain reasons. And so it's almost that I find that when Peter Crone is talking about this and raising the vibrations, you're ultimately raising your own being, and as a part of getting higher, it comes with material goods as a part of the journey. So then it's less about being attached, it's actually more of like a necessity of life in a way. That's the way I think about it.
Yeah, that's perfectly valid. You know, I mean, there's obviously in history there've been a lot of great, saints and sages and enlightened folks who had no material possessions really. So it can go either way, they're both form.
But I guess that depends on what you define by material possessions. For some people, it's just sheer power, which might not necessarily is coming with material goods, but you would associate it with material things at the same time.
No, I mean, there's people who go and live in the forest and, just really subsistence kind of living.
No, I understand that, but I'm trying to make a different point, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean that, like I think everybody, like everybody has everybody can decide for themselves what they want their goals to be, right?
Yeah.
So
Doesn't it depend on what you're affecting by what you have? Like, to get to the point of this course where Mickey has gotten to, he's sort of put complexity aside to simplify so that he can get to this idea that he is sharing.
yeah,
And
I mean on the one hand yes, but on the other hand, where life has taken him was, if you read I don't know if you've read the Surrender Experiment, but I mean where life has,
no,
I mean he founded this software company that wound up being a $1 billion publicly traded software company that he was the CEO of for a while, and then emerged. Anyway, he had a very complex life for a while there,
was
but he
that
never.
before or after?
After what?
After he had the whole awakening and.
Well, I highly recommend the book Surrender Experiment, but it
all right.
it was his
I'll
path.
check it.
It wasn't before or after, it was his path, right? And basically he just wanted to meditate and do yoga, and then but was practicing surrender, and this is, people asked him to do things, and people asked him to write the software for them, and he didn't want to do it, but he did it because he was surrendering to the universe, and one thing led to another, and he wound up with this company that he never set out to have. And the whole time he was doing it, he was just surrendering, and and he was doing it. He saw it as doing it for the universe. The universe has asked me to create this software, so I'm going to do make the best software I can, because I'm doing it for the universe. And so it led him on this whole journey, But at the same time, after it was all over, he now he now has nothing to do with this company, and he has a fair bit of money, and like he never goes anywhere because he's like, I'm not interested in going, and I love my life. I lead this little spiritual community, and that's my purpose, and I don't need to have any I don't need to have any I don't need to go on vacation. I don't need to go on, he gets asked a lot to go, and do interviews or whatever, and he doesn't, only done a handful of them. And that's what works for him, right? So.
And what was Zemfira? I think I pronounced it right. Zemfira, what was your viewpoint, if I may ask, if we have time for this?
I mean, on what?
On Peter's sort of, I don't know, it's what you said earlier, but I missed your.
No, so what I was trying to say is I think the question was whether it's okay to have material goods and at the same time search for inner peace, I guess. And my point is that it's not just okay, sometimes it's necessary, because depending on what you want to accomplish in life, and I believe that every person's goal is to get the best expression of themselves in this life. And for some people, it might be the best expression of inner peace, and for some people, it's actually affecting the life of many. And so if you choose to affect the life of many, that often comes with material goods as a part of getting on path in that journey. And very often it's not necessarily something person goes after, it just happens, because the more you want to do, the more you actually need to accomplish that, and things just start coming.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's non-attachment, right? It's not being attached to these goals.
Yeah, and I think it's a somewhat different concept. I think it's less about being attached, not attached, because if you were to define your purpose as I want to make the life of many, affect the life of many, the material is not part of that even thought process.
Yeah.
But it comes because that's something that is necessary to get there.
Yeah. But that is a very different philosophy than Mickey's philosophy. Like, I'm not judging. I'm just saying, like, Mickey's philosophy really is that it's not up to you to decide where life should take you. That life will take you where it will, and try and not resist that. Right.
But I think actually I would probably frame it more differently, because if I were to, so I read both of his books, and I can say that yes, his major philosophy is about following the flow, but he actually had a direction of the flow he wanted to go to, and so he was following that direction. And then if you were to think about the material part of it, he became one of the wealthiest persons in the United States. I mean, the material parts of that just was coming along as he was trying to get on the journey of affecting more and more people eventually.
Well, anyway, we need to cut this short because it's we're running out of time. But anyway, I encourage people to read the Surrender Experiment. It's really instructive, I find, and judge for yourself. And see what works for you. At the end of the day, you don't have, it's only one, whether you want to follow this philosophy or that, it's your life, right? So what do you want in your life? And then can you let that go? Can you not make your goal like, can you not suffer? Make sure that your goal doesn't cause you suffering, basically. So the last chapter, and we just have a few minutes for this because we still have a lot to go, is the loving eyes of God. And he, and the main point here, I think, from a practice perspective, he talks about how, you can identify with the personal self, you can identify with your thoughts and your emotions and your preferences, or you can identify with the witness, with the awareness, right, which is really kind of connected to this universal consciousness or God. And from a practice perspective, I noticed that to the extent that I identify with the awareness and not identify with the emotions and the preferences and the thoughts, basically I'm much more centered, much easier to allow things in and not get pulled into the thoughts. And so you can actually practice, like when you're doing the, like, you know, the seat of self, seat of awareness, to really think of yourself as like, I am this awareness. I am this awareness, right? I'm not the thoughts, I'm not the emotions, I'm not the preferences or the desires or the reactions or whatever. I am the awareness, right? And the awareness has no intention, it has no emotion, it has no preferences. And the other big thing he says is, don't reach for spirit, don't reach for, you know, this spiritual attainment or whatever you want to call it, but rather just keep untethering yourself, keep letting go of the resistance, keep letting go of the lower self, of the personal mind, and you sort of back into the higher self, right? You're always focused on cutting the tethers, right? Which is the samskaras, if you will, right? The whole psyche, the personal preferences and all that. And he says the personal self cannot touch spirit. You have to let go of the personal self in order to you know, to touch that you know, you can call it Buddha nature, you can call it what does he call it, Satchitananda, right? The eternal conscious ecstasy, right? Which you can also think of as God, right? He talks about how God is love, and where is it here? Sorry, I seem to be missing something here. Anyway, he talks about how you know, as you float up, if you will, as you cut the tethers, you'll notice that you're less judgmental. You'll notice that you have more, you know, kind feelings. You appreciate people more. It's like Marina was talking about with her mother. You know, that, you know, things that used to bother you about people, now you know, you love them, right? You just love them, even, and you're not bothered by them the way you used to be. And you see, you know, people's things that you used to judge and push away, and now you just see it as this, you know, beautiful individuality, if you will. You know, see everyone as a flower. So the idea is that that's, you know, we talk about this practice like working, right? That's really, over the long haul, that's what working is, right? Is that you notice that you're getting less judgmental, you're getting kinder, you're feeling more love. You're moving closer to this idea of God, if you will. And that at some point, you know, the small self can actually merge with the universal consciousness. And that's really, you know, that's, you know, losing this whole sense of self, right? You know, many teachers talk about this idea that, you know, you strive for enlightenment, and then if you ever achieve enlightenment, it's kind of like a cosmic joke, because there's no you left to enjoy the enlightenment. The drop has fallen in the ocean and there's no more drop, right? But again, the main practice points are not to like grasp at that spiritual attainment, but rather to just keep dropping the resistance, keep letting go of the samskaras, cutting the tethers. You know, and that does mean letting go of attachment in all its forms, and aversion in all its forms. Any questions about that or? Okay. So we're going to do a very short breakout. And the theme here is, where do you think this practice can take you? So it's our last session. It's just where do you want to go with this, or where do you think it can take you? So we'll just have like 3 or 4 minutes for this. And so there'll be 2 in some group and 3 in others. So here we go. Hey, Teresa. You're muted.
Hey. My answer is inner peace.
Yeah.
Are you doing the course again soon?
No.
Okay, I'll just have to read the book over and over and listen to the book study on Saturdays.
Yeah, I don't know when I'm doing it next. I've decided to just give myself a little bit of a break.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, I know people read the book over and over and over and over again, and I can kind of see why. So, yeah.
So is the practice group on the Saturday? Is that the one with Frank?
Yeah, the Irish guy.
Yeah, the Irish guy. Yeah.
Yeah. He's interesting, huh? I wonder where they came. Like, yeah, they seem to have a story. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He's
Yeah.
very positive, and he's got a real nice way about him.
Yeah. And I just like I keep going through the book over and over and over, and yeah.
Yeah. I like to go to that. I go more on the Sunday to the what do you call it, the surrender experiment one. They were reading through the surrender experiment on Sunday.
Okay, do you like that book better, or
I'm just less familiar with it, so
so more learning to do.
read Untethered Soul so many times that I find so.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
Anyway,
Wow. Well, I hope you do teach it again, because I'll definitely be there.
Right?
I'm a Lori Aaron groupie officially.
Yeah. So where do you want the practice to take you? I mean, you said inner peace, but what do you actually maybe could just
talk about that?
Talk about that.
Well, I am tormented by what I'm going through, and I kind of keep wondering where it will take me. And I guess I worry about stuff, and I worry about the outcome, like kind of like what one of the guys in the class was talking about, his 16-year-old daughter, right? And will she live with me? And that kind of outside problem, and
right,
that you get stuck with and ruminate about, and sometimes you just need to disconnect. And yeah, so that's that's my big challenge right now.
Yeah, well, it's letting go of this inquiry, right? And this inquiry is going and can you,
but I have to prepare for it. I have to write a narrative and a timeline.
Absolutely, but I'm saying to keep connected with your body and your emotions and allow yourself to feel whatever is going on through it, right? To really practice opening to, because it's stirring up a lot of stuff, right? And and if you can go through it with that openness, you know, that's really key, is to, you know, to just, you know, to not let this experience, you know, turn you
Eat me
upside
up.
down. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and to be able to, and that'll give you the, like the energy to go through it, right? Is
Yeah.
constantly letting go, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to, you know, if you're really tight through the whole thing and pushing things down, that's how you can get really stressed, right?
And wanting certain outcomes, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And opening yourself up to real devastation if it doesn't go your way.
Right. Right. Being too tied to it. Yeah.
Because the truth is, you can be happy however it goes.
I know. And I've loved that you've said that before. You could be happy in jail, or, you know, it's that kind of thing, right? And on death row.
This is much. Hello, everyone. So I'm just going to, so we're going to do the writing exercise now. We don't have a lot of time for it, but we'll do our best to do that. And this is just to give us some perspective and to help keep us motivated, because the most important thing and the hardest thing is to stay motivated after the course is over, right? When you no longer have this regular meeting time and this accountability structure. And quite often people have very good intentions and then they drop the practice, right? Life just sort of pushes it aside and it's not a priority. And so it's really helpful to just contemplate a little bit. So I've written down a couple of questions. I put them in the chat so you can, if you could write them down. So what differences have you noticed from this practice? What practices are most helpful? What words of encouragement have been helpful? So words of encouragement is just like, things you say to yourself to help keep you motivated. Or even to, to help you when the going gets tough. Maybe they're words of compassion, or, just reminding yourself of where you want to go. Reminding yourself of, how your mind tricks you, maybe. And then what obstacles have you faced? It's good to, when an obstacle comes up, to say, oh yeah, that's an obstacle. I've seen this one before. And how can you overcome them? And often you can overcome them just by recognizing them. And then what practices do you want to continue? So, we've done sort of the main practice of relax, release, lean back, opening to the disturbance. But then there's also a lot of other things like, noticing the heart closing, thinking of things as a challenge, not a problem, bells of mindfulness. So just take a few moments, let's give you a few minutes to make some notes about these questions.
Lori, what was the second question, please?
If you open the chat, you'll see all the questions.
Oh.
Yeah. The second one was what practices have been most helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and we're getting awfully close to 9, so I guess we'll have to move on, but please do spend a bit of time to complete this exercise. And just, you know, to set an intention for yourself in terms of continuing practice. And along those lines, I have, I lead a group. We meet once a month on, the next one's going to be the second Sunday in April at 7 p.m. just for an hour. So that's, I'll send you something out to invite you to that. And that's just, you know, we'll do a short meditation, and then people can just ask questions or share their practice. So it's kind of just a Sangha. It's free. So I just do that so that there's some support going on. And feel free to, you know, ask, you know, if you want to email me or if you want to talk to me, just let me know. We can set that up. And yeah, as Teresa mentioned, so I haven't set the next time I'm going to offer the course at this point, but given that you've already taken the course, if you want to take it again, it's only $50. So I just want to encourage people to continue the practice. So I make that offer. And yeah, you know, you know, if you felt you got something out of this and it seems to be pointing you in a good direction, you know, whatever I can do to support you, I'm happy to help. So just to close, let's just go around. I'll just, if you don't mind, I'll call out your name. It's a little quicker, and just to share one or two words that that come to mind when thinking about your experience of this practice and this course. You know, so for me, I would say learning and letting go. It's been a lot of that this course. So I'm just going to do it in the order that I see the screens here. So Samphira.
I think peace.
Great, thank you. And Barbara.
The importance of pausing and breathing.
Pausing and breathing. Yeah, thanks, Barbara. Jeff.
Pausing, breathing, tuning into the moment. Exactly. It's big for me.
Yeah. Thanks. Mark.
Thankful and listening.
Great, thanks, Mark. Monica.
Choosing happy or open heart.
Yeah, great. Rena. Oh, you're muted.
Oh. Oh wow.
Are you? Oh no.
Okay. The freedom you feel when you let go of resistance.
Yeah. Freedom. You can go resistance. Thank you. Dawn.
Full disclosure, when you asked the question, I immediately froze. And I was like, oh God, what am I going to say? Because it's so meaningful, right? So maybe that's it. Meaningful. This course has been extremely meaningful. And I would say honesty to face ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being so candid. That's really touching. Yeah. Great. Mark is great. Teresa?
Inner peace, a work in progress.
Yeah. Great. And Kathy, we're just sharing one or two words, what you that come up when you think of this, your experience with this course and this practice.
Must apply with greater diligence.
Okay. Thanks, Kathy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kathy. So thank you everyone for your presence throughout this course and your participation. It's really been wonderful getting to know everyone, and I hope we stay in touch. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to stay on. But it is 9 o'clock, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mm.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Thanks.
everyone.
Bye.
Great to be together.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Mhm.
We'll see you in 2 weeks, Lori.
Well, what in 2 weeks? What's happening in 2 weeks?
I'll I have a Sangha, like just a monthly gathering of all the people anyone who's taken the course can participate. So it's just
I get the Zoom link.
it's a Zoom, yeah.
You're gonna send it to us?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you do for a living, by the way? What do you do for a living? Are you a therapist? Or-
No. Right now I help oversee family business.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're Buddhist?
Bye,
right?
everybody.
Bye. Are you Buddhist? But
I mean, I practice Buddhist stuff. Yeah.
okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I fell behind in this course and I just never got caught up. So and
Yeah. It's okay.
I'll see what happens in 2 weeks. Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
try to get caught up somehow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, take care, Kathy. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, same to you. Take care.
Okay. You too. Bye.
Bye.